What do you do when the stores that raised your kids stop opening their doors? In 2025, longtime giants of American retail are shrinking quietly, but quickly. Not because people stopped needing them, but because people stopped believing in them. Across the country, families aren't just losing places to shop. They're losing the rhythms of daily life. And for many, the pain goes far deeper than economics. These were more than stores. They were where you picked up cough medicine at midnight, where your grandson got his first summer job, where neighbors exchanged holiday greetings in the aisles. Now many stand dark, hollow, and locked. Nationwide boycotts are hitting America's biggest retailers harder than ever. But it's not just company profits that are vanishing. It's groceries disappearing from local shelves. It's workers in their late 50s, like Harold from Dayton, being told they're no longer needed. For retirees, it means fewer pharmacies that accept insurance. For part-timers, it means unpredictable schedules. For caregivers, longer drives for basic essentials. This video explores the top 10 major retail chains now caught in crisis, as sweeping boycotts collide with real-life consequences. Our aim is not to attack or assign blame, but to reflect on the deeper impacts unfolding across American communities. The names you'll hear are familiar. Their downfall is unexpected, and the consequences, personal. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. 1. Target. A few months ago, you could still find the shelves full. The pharmacy open late. The same cashier who smiled and asked about your grandkids. Now you see reduced hours signs taped to the doors. You hear whispers of temporary closures that never reopen. And if you've noticed fewer employees, you're not imagining it. Target's quiet policy shift earlier this year may have sparked headlines, but what followed was quieter and far more painful. That 6% drop in foot traffic triggered an avalanche. Entire stores began cutting staff across smaller towns. In places like Springfield, Toledo, and rural Iowa, full-time workers were sent home. Not with severance, but with silence. For many older employees, this was their last shot before retirement. No warning, no backup plan, no job market waiting for someone in their 60s. And what about customers? Older people now have to drive 40 minutes for prescriptions that used to be 10 minutes away. One retired couple in Kansas said they skipped their blood pressure meds for a week because the nearest Target pharmacy now closes 3 days a week. Mothers who relied on Target's affordable diapers and formula now face price hikes and longer commutes. College students, once juggling classes and a flexible cashier shift, have lost both their schedules and their paychecks. Worse yet, communities feel it. The local Target wasn't just a store, it was a gathering place. A familiar stop. Now it's a reminder of what's slipping away. And the fear that this isn't just about Target, because when something that's stable, something that's always been there, starts vanishing, what does that mean for everything else we depend on? So ask yourself this: if your local Target is already downsizing, what comes next? 2. Walmart. What if tomorrow the Walmart near your home just didn't open? No notice, no explanation. That single thought should send a chill down the spine of anyone who still believes this country has a safety net. It starts with something small. A pharmacy aisle closed for the 3rd day in a row. A store that used to welcome you 24/7 now locking up at 9 p.m. But those are just the visible cracks. The real fall down is much quieter and much closer to home. In 2005, Walmart, the symbol of everyday American life, is no longer a certainty. Not for the single mom balancing 2 part-time jobs. Not for the retiree living on a fixed income. Not for the college student counting on that $14.25 an hour shift to make it through the semester. What used to be a reliable safety net has become a tightrope. Milk that cost $3.28 last year is now $4.19. A family-sized cereal box sits at $6.87. Even those dollar socks you picked up every winter now cost nearly $3. Aisles are thinner. Shelves are half-stocked. And customer service has become a lottery. It's no longer about saving money, it's about holding on. For decades, Walmart was where Americans went for daily needs. It was a place where no one asked if you were rich or poor because everyone came for the same reason, to make ends meet. But now, those ends are drifting further apart. People are skipping medications, choosing between gas and groceries, standing longer in line because the store cut back on staff. And all the while, the sign outside still says, "Save money, live better." It's not just nostalgia for lower prices, it's fear of what's replacing them. If Walmart, with over 4,600 stores across the country, starts closing doors or reducing operations, millions will lose access not only to affordable goods, but to jobs, medications, and a fragile sense of normalcy. And that hits hardest where the margins are already razor-thin rural towns, immigrant neighborhoods, elderly communities, places where Walmart isn't just a store, it's the only option left. So here's the question: if the last place you could count on starts fading, where will you turn next, and what happens when the lights go out? Not just in the store, but in the lives of those who depended on it. 3. Amazon. What if the one thing that made life easier during your toughest years suddenly stopped working? For many, Amazon was never about luxury, it was survival. A lifeline during harsh winters, lonely holidays, or late nights when no one else was open. But in 2025, even that lifeline is starting to fray, and most Americans won't realize how much they relied on it until it's too late. It's no longer just about late deliveries. It's about what those delays reveal: a system under quiet downturn. That Prime order you used to trust for diapers, medical supplies, or heating pads now arrives days late or not at all. Customer service wait times have tripled. Essential items go out of stock more often. Prices climb silently. 2-day shipping stretches into a week. And those easy returns now tangled in red tape and policy updates. But behind the screen, the strain is human. Fulfillment centers are cutting shifts, automating tasks, demanding more from fewer workers. Every slow delivery tells a hidden story of someone working longer hours with less support, under more stress. And it adds up not just for them, but for all of us. You try to reorder a cane for your mother, it's back-ordered. The space heater you need before the cold snap arrives after the freeze. Vitamins, compression socks, adult diapers, every delay chips away at comfort, independence, and dignity. For rural families, for the elderly, for the disabled, Amazon was more than convenience. It was the only reliable way to get essentials. Now, even that feels shaky. And if a company with $1 trillion infrastructure, satellites, and AI can't guarantee a basic delivery, what does that say about the rest of the country's systems? If Amazon is falling behind, how close are we to everything else breaking down? So ask yourself, when even the fastest service in America slows down, what's slowing down next? 4. Costco. You used to go to Costco for toilet paper. Now, you leave with questions. It starts small. A hesitation at the entrance. A sideways glance in the frozen section. In 2025, the mood inside Costco has shifted with silence. While many retailers adapted to changing narratives, Costco stayed the course, continuing long-standing policies rooted in community support and affordability. Some praised the consistency, others stepped away. And in the middle of it all, regular Americans caught in the tension. For working families, Costco is where a $300 paycheck becomes a month's worth of groceries, where rotisserie chickens feed a week, where seniors split bulk packages to stretch fixed incomes. For students, it's how part-time wages meet basic needs. But in recent months, the numbers have shifted. According to a 2025 Nielsen report, household spending at wholesale retailers dropped 8.2% due to rising costs and shrinking access. Shoppers now start feeling left behind. Items they once relied on: egg cartons, rice bags, cleaning supplies disappear for weeks. When they return, they're more expensive. Free samples still appear, but they no longer feel cheerful. At checkout, the question isn't did we save enough, but can we come back next month? Employees continue to greet customers warmly. But even they feel the strain longer shifts, fewer hands, more tension. And through it all, so the families silently juggle tough choices. Buy more now or hold off until Social Security hits, split gas with a neighbor, or skip the trip entirely. It's about the erosion of a place that once felt neutral, even sacred. A store that let people quietly get what they needed, without judgment or division. But now, with rising prices, uncertain moods, and a changing landscape, even Costco feels like a question mark. And if a store built on trust, practicality, and community starts to lose its center, what happens to the neighborhoods that once depended on it just to get by? 5. Home Depot. There was a time when fixing a broken faucet wasn't a crisis. When walking into a store like Home Depot meant possibility, not pressure. You remember those Saturdays, don't you? You didn't worry if the part would be there, if the price would be fair, or if someone could help you find it. That was America then, practical, dependable, built on the belief that with a little work, you could take care of your own. But in 2025, something feels different. The shelves aren't as full. The employees, fewer and more hurried. A simple fixture, something you used to grab for under $10, now costs nearly $15 if it's even in stock. You wait longer. You ask for help and get pointed vaguely down an aisle. And when you finally reach for what you need, you wonder, will this fix what's breaking? Or just hold it together a little longer? For retirees on fixed incomes, for single parents holding down 2 jobs, for the working class that still believes in rolling up their sleeves, this isn't about a sink or a shed. It's about losing a place that once stood for self-reliance. You've paid taxes your whole life. You've never asked for handouts. But now, even patching a roof feels like too much to ask. The numbers say foot traffic dropped over 6% nationwide. But that's just a number. What matters is the feeling, the way you hesitate before starting a project. The way you wonder if your skills still count. If your hands still matter in a country where everything seems to slip out of reach. Home Depot didn't fail. But it stopped feeling familiar. Some say it changed because of politics. Others say it's the economy. So when was the last time you walked into Home Depot and felt like you belonged there? Like your time, your effort, your know-how still meant something? Because if even the store that once taught us how to fix things can't hold itself together, what's left for the rest of us trying to keep our lives from falling apart? 6. Lows. It starts when someone walks out empty-handed, not because they forgot something, but because the shelves were bare. The part wasn't there. The seasonal tools were gone. And the person at the register wasn't there anymore either. In 2025, what's happening at Lowe's feels bigger than any corporate memo. For millions of families, this wasn't just a hardware store. It was where repairs met reality. Where a bag of mulch and a borrowed cart could help someone feel in control again. But lately, control has been slipping. Staff cuts have left entire departments quiet. In smaller towns, customers now wait twice as long to find help if anyone's around at all. Snow shovels in winter, garden soil and spring essentials once taken for granted now show up late or not at all. And for a family trying to fix a drafty window before the next cold snap, that delay is super dangerous. The ripple effects go deeper. Rural families, veterans with fixed incomes, parents doing home repairs to save on rent all rely on Lowe's to stretch tight budgets. But when the shelves are half stocked, and the checkout lines double in wait time, that fragile balance breaks. It's not just the store that feels thinner, it's the thread holding household stability together. Lowe's once meant something steady. It was where folks shook hands, asked neighbors for advice, and bought one more nail just in case. The kind of place where generations worked weekends on the same porch, but as layoffs increase and morale drops, that sense of local trust is eroding. Familiar faces disappear. Smiles fade. And people begin to wonder if they're next. Corporate reports say sales dropped 5.6% this quarter. Policies changed. Forecasts were revised. But what families notice isn't the press release. It's the silence in the aisles and the rising fear in their wallets. Because when the places that help fix homes start to fall apart themselves, what happens to the families already stretched thin? Just trying to keep the heat on. The roof sealed and the bills paid. 7. Best Buy. There was a time when buying technology didn't feel like a gamble. You could walk into Best Buy with a problem and walk out with a solution because someone in a yellow shirt knew what they were talking about. It wasn't just about buying things, it was about trust. The trust was earned through conversations, weekend visits, and advice that felt human. But in 2025, that feeling is slipping away. Many older shoppers remember the difference clearly. One woman talked about the day she brought in her old stereo, unsure how to upgrade. A young employee not only helped her pick a new one, but carried it to her car, explained the setup, and even reminded her to save the receipt. It made me feel like I belonged in that store. She said, "Now, I feel like I'm in the way." That shift isn't just personal, it's widespread. After Best Buy quietly removed DEI goals from internal reporting, staff reductions followed, longtime employees were let go. Familiar faces disappeared. And with them went the comfort of walking into a store and knowing someone would be there, not just to sell, but to guide. Today, many stores feel colder. Products are still there, but the help isn't. A man needing a new laptop for his granddaughter said he stood by the display for 15 minutes before giving up. There were people around, he said, but no one looked up. That silence is more than inconvenience. It creates distance. And for older customers who already feel left behind by rapid tech changes, the absence of support deepens that divide. It feels like they are no longer welcomed at all. Best Buy once helped people believe they could stay connected to the world as it changed. It made new devices feel manageable, even exciting. But today, shopping feels more like guessing. Less guidance, more confusion, less warmth, more doubt. And that doubt extends beyond the store. Because when help disappears, connection follows. And when connection fades, the idea that we're all moving forward together starts to fall apart. 8. CVS. The announcement didn't make headlines for long. 2,900 jobs cut. Bonuses eliminated. A leaner structure promised. It sounded like strategy, but it felt like loss. CVS entered 2025 with a plan to streamline operations, stabilize costs, and modernize systems. Instead, it triggered a 42% plunge in sales and unleashed a slow unraveling in the communities it once anchored. Pharmacies that had served neighborhoods for decades were suddenly understaffed, understocked, and unrecognizable. For many Americans, CVS isn't just a store, it's the place they go when a fever spikes at midnight, when a child needs antibiotics, when a spouse picks up insulin before a weekend trip. These aren't transactions, they're lifelines. But now, lifelines are tangled. Wait times stretch into hours. Prescriptions once ready in 20 minutes now take days. Some walk in with hope and leave with nothing told to check back later. And in towns where CVS is the only pharmacy for miles, later isn't a backup plan, it's a risk. Inside, the few employees left do what they can, but fewer hands mean more mistakes. Medication mislabels, missed allergies, rushed interactions, elderly customers confused by new systems. No time for questions, no time for care. Outside, workers demand safer conditions, reasonable pay, a return to standards that once defined the job. But inside, it's the customers who notice what's really gone missing: trust. And trust is hard to rebuild when your health feels like a number. One woman stood in line for over an hour, only to be told her heart medication hadn't arrived. They used to call me when it came in. She said, now. They barely look up. A pharmacy is supposed to offer more than pills. It offers presence, continuity, a face that remembers your name, a voice that notices when something's wrong. Without that, even small illnesses begin to feel overwhelming. What's disappearing at CVS isn't just efficiency, it's the invisible thread that once connected care with community. The quiet comfort of knowing that when you need help, it's nearby. And when that thread snaps, not with a bang, but with a pause, a delay, a shrug, what's left is not a health crisis or a scandal. It's something slower, sadder. A mother checking her watch. An old man trying to remember if he already took his dose. A town learning to live without the place it thought would always be there. 9. Walgreens. It began with the number 200 stores set to close. The press release mentioned strategic realignment, citing a $3 billion quarterly loss. But in towns across America, it didn't feel like strategy. It felt like someone turning off the lights and walking away. For many, Walgreens isn't just a place to grab toothpaste or snacks. It's where a pharmacist remembers your name, where flu shots were given before school started, where seniors on fixed incomes picked up monthly medications and asked a quick question without scheduling an appointment. Now, those doors are closing. In rural towns, it means driving 30 or 40 miles to the next pharmacy if there is one. In cities, it means long bus rides with aching knees, or skipping a refill entirely. Some stories go unnoticed, a mother missing antibiotics for her child, a veteran rationing heart pills to make them last. The buildings themselves stand as reminders. Once a glow of red signage, now dim. Windows boarded up. A note taped to the door. This location is permanently closed. It's not just a store that's gone, it's the part of town that still felt personal. Inside the few stores left, the pressure mounts. More people, fewer staff, long lines where there used to be short chats. Pharmacies stretched to their limits, shelves missing key medications. And for the workers left behind, pharmacists, technicians, clerks, the pace becomes unsustainable. Jobs vanished quietly. So did stability. In neighborhoods already fragile, Walgreens' retreat left holes that nothing rushed in to fill. Churches now host pop-up vaccine events. Fire stations distribute over-the-counter meds. But the gaps remain. And people notice, because a pharmacy isn't just part of the market, it's part of the safety net, a place to ask questions, to feel seen, to be helped without needing a doctor's referral or a ride across town. When that disappears, what's lost isn't just convenience, it's the last bit of healthcare you didn't have to fight for. And the emptiness left behind isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a man walking half a mile home, slower than before, carrying a plastic bag with half the pills he needed. Sometimes it's a closed sign that never comes down. And sometimes it's a neighborhood that learns, quietly, that once the lights go out, no one's coming back to turn them on. Conclusion: across the country, the places that once held us together are growing quiet. Pharmacies, grocery stores, hardware shops, they weren't just places to buy things. They were the backbone of daily life. The spaces where questions found answers, where routines created stability, where names were remembered. Their slow disappearance leaves more than gaps on the map. It leaves gaps in trust, in health, in dignity. But beneath the silence, there's still something holding on. A grandmother budgeting for groceries with precision, a father fixing the roof with borrowed tools, a teenager walking 3 miles to pick up a prescription for his mother. These moments matter. They're proof that people haven't given up, not yet. This isn't just about what we've lost. It's about what we still have and what we choose to do with it. Because even in the face of closures and cuts, the values that built these communities' resilience, care, responsibility are still here. And they live in the stories we share. So if something in this video felt familiar, if a memory surfaced, or a truth hit home, don't let it stay quiet. Share your story. Tell us what your town lost, what you're holding on to, and what still gives you hope.